Now let's make the strap. The strap is completed by crocheting a shrimp braid. After crocheting, sew it onto both sides of the bag. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific crocheting method. Take out the corresponding color yarn. Here, I will still demonstrate with a sample. Leave about 15 centimeters of yarn tail for sewing. Then make the starting knot for the foundation chain. After completing that, crochet 1 chain. The foundation chain is now complete. Next, make 1 chain as the turning chain for single crochet. Then crochet a single crochet into the foundation chain. Pick up 1 loop of the chain like this. One single crochet is completed. Then turn the fabric clockwise. You can see there is a loop like this on the side. Pick up this loop with the hook. Crochet 1 single crochet. Continue to turn the fabric clockwise. You can see there are 2 parallel loops like this below. Pick up these 2 loops with the hook and crochet 1 single crochet. Then turn the fabric again. Pick up the 2 parallel loops. Crochet 1 single crochet. Now let's take a look at the crocheting pattern behind. Every time you turn the fabric, pick up the 2 parallel loops and crochet 1 single crochet. Continue crocheting according to this pattern. Keep going until you reach the desired length. The exact length can be referenced from the chart. You can also adjust freely according to your preference. Everyone continue crocheting on your own. After everyone crochets to the required length, directly secure with a chain. Pull tight. Leave a yarn tail of about 15 centimeters. Break the yarn. That concludes the strap. Now let's sew the strap. The length of my sample here is not for reference. Thread the reserved yarn tail of one end of the strap onto a darning needle. Sew it on the side of the metal frame ear. You can sew a few times here. This will make it more secure. There's no specific requirement for the sewing method here, just ensure it's secured well. After completing, weave in the yarn tail. Cut the yarn. This way, one end of the strap is fixed at the symmetrical position of the other end of the strap. Sew it securely with the same method. Pay attention not to twist the strap. Everyone can complete the sewing by themselves. That concludes the installation of the strap. After securing the strap, let's sew the ears now. Locate the chin position on the upper part. It indents a little here. We will sew the ear on the other side. The fixing position of the ear is below the metal frame. The distance between the two ears is about 2.5 centimeters. Below, we start sewing. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Note, the ears should have the right side facing out. First, position them correctly. Then start sewing. Similarly, there are no specific requirements for sewing here, just ensure it's secure. After securing the top part of the ear, pass the yarn from inside the ear down to a little distance below the ear. You can secure it with 2 more stitches at the bottom. Once done, weave in the ends. Break the yarn. That's it, one ear has now been sewn. Everyone can use the same method to sew the other ear as well. This concludes all the sections that need sewing. Leave the arms for now, set them aside for later use. Up to this point, the main part is now completely finished. After the main part is completed, let's move on to making the decorations. The decorations include facial features, garments, head decorations, bottom decorations, and ribbons. Let's start with the facial features. The facial features consist of eyes, nose, mouth, and blush. First, look at the position for the eyes. The bottom of the eyes is roughly aligned with one side of the mouth. There is approximately a 2 cm space between the two eyes. Let's attach the eyes first. After the eyes are glued on, we'll move on to the nose. The top of the nose aligns with the bottom of the eyes. There is a post underneath our nose. We need to use scissors to trim off the excess part. After trimming, make it lay flat before attaching. Stick it underneath the eyes. Everyone, please attach both the eyes and the nose. After the eyes and nose are glued on, let's make the mouth now. The mouth is below the nose. Here we need to sew with a single strand of yarn. First, take a segment of thread. Pull out one strand from it. Then thread it through the needle. Tie a knot at the end of the thread. Secure the tail end on the wrong side. Then exit from underneath the nose. Insert on the left side. Tidy up the shape a little. Don't pull the thread too tight here. Then insert it into the position on the right side. Insert a little distance below the nose. Adjust the shape. Then weave in the ends. Cut the yarn. To make sure it's secure, use some glue to fix it. You don't need to apply too much. This way, the mouth is secured. Now that the mouth is completed, let's apply some blush. Apply the blush a little below the eyes and on the ears. The intensity and position of the blush can also be adjusted according to your preference. Everyone can apply it by yourself. Up to this point, we've covered all the facial features. Now let's make the garments. Let's take a look at the finished product. The garments is divided into the main body, edging, sleeves, and embroidery. First complete the crocheting parts and then proceed with the embroidery. Finally, sew everything together. Start by making the main body of the garments. We will start from foundation chain for the main body. Work back and forth. Leave space for the armholes while crocheting. Below, please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. First, chain 2. That's how you start. Then move on to the first row. Find the last single crochet. Right here. Pick up one loop from above and pull through a single crochet. That's how you finish the first row. Now proceed to the second row. Start with one chain. Then turn the fabric over. Below, you need to make one SC2-in-1. Pay attention, when crocheting on the wrong side, the stitch is located at the top left. That's how you complete the SC2-in-1. The second row is finished. Now let's move on to the third row. Make one chain as your beginning chain. Then turn the fabric over. Start with one SC2-in-1. After completing it, continue with one single crochet. That completes the third row. Now proceed to the fourth row. Start with one chain as the beginning chain. Turn the fabric over. Crochet 2 single crochets correspondingly. Then do one SC2-in-1. That completes the fourth row. Let's take a look at the pattern here. Every row starts with one chain as the beginning chain. Then turn the fabric and work the corresponding stitches. Follow this pattern all the way to the 29th row. Now let's move on to the 30th row. I'll still demonstrate with a sample here. The number of rows is not for reference. First, make one chain as the beginning chain. Then turn the fabric over. Next, work one single crochet. After finishing the single crochet, start crocheting chains. You need to crochet a total of 11 chains here. These chains correspond one-to-one with the single crochet stitches below. Make sure to crochet the corresponding number of chains. Once done, start from the 12th single crochet. Begin crocheting the remaining 4 single crochets. This completes row 30. Now move on to row 31. First, make 1 chain as the beginning chain. Turn the fabric over. Then work 4 single crochets. After finishing the single crochets, you reach the chains. Tidy up the chains here. We'll pick up 1 loop from the top of the chains and start crocheting single crochets. This completes 1 single crochet. Everyone, continue crocheting the remaining single crochets. Pay attention to the single crochets worked into the chains. Always pick up the top loop of the chain and crochet into it. I've now finished the single crochets on the chains. There is now 1 stitch remaining. Continue by crocheting 1 more single crochet. This completes row 31. After finishing, you can check if the stitch count matches the chart. For rows 32 to 60, simply work even in single crochets. You can finish it on your own. Now let's move on to row 61. Here, I will explain the method. The crocheting method here is similar to row 30. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Then turn the fabric over. First, work 4 single crochets evenly. After that, make 11 chains. Skip the next 11 single crochets below. Work 1 single crochet in the last stitch. That concludes row 61. Everyone, these 2 positions are where the armholes will be. Let's continue with row 62. The crocheting method for this row is similar to row 31. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Turn the fabric over. Work 1 single crochet first. Then pick up the top loop of the chains and work 11 single crochets evenly. Follow that with 4 single crochets. Row 62 is now complete. There are no new stitches used from here on. Everyone, refer to the pattern and crochet the remaining rows. End with the last SC2 tog. The side you finish on is the right side. This concludes the main body of the garment. After completing the main body, it's time to crochet the edging. There's no need to break the yarn here. Start with one chain as the beginning chain. You can see there is a gap between each row. We will pick these gaps and work single crochets into them. There's no specific requirement for the insertion point here, just keep the fabric flat. Everyone, continue crocheting using this method. We will keep going until we reach the armhole. Now we've reached the corresponding position. We need to decrease one stitch on each side of the armhole. The position for the decrease is approximate here. One decrease is done. Continue with the other one. After completing the 2SC2 tog, it's picking the gaps and working single crochets evenly again. Continue until just before the other armhole. Now we've reached another corresponding position. Here, we need to work 2SC2 tog as well. The insertion point is random. After completing it, continue working single crochets by picking the gaps evenly again. We will keep going until we reach the top of the left side. Now we've reached the corresponding position again. At the top, we need to work 3 single crochets. Then continue picking the gaps and working single crochets. While crocheting, weave in the starting tail. When crocheting the edging, it doesn't matter if you make 1 or 2 mistakes, just keep the fabric flat. Following this method, we continue until we reach the top of the left side. Complete this part on your own. Now I've reached the corresponding position. Finally, on the corner where there is a SC2 tog, work 3 single crochets. Then join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. Break the yarn. Weave in the ends on the wrong side. That's how you crochet the first round of edging. Next, let's edging for the front band. Fold the garment in half neatly. Find the position of the 3 single crochets at the corner. Join the yarn at the middle single crochet. Take the corresponding color yarn. Draw the yarn through. Chain 1 to begin. Below, start crocheting single crochets. When working, pay attention to weaving in the yarn tail. This row is worked with 1 single crochet in each stitch. We keep crocheting until we reach the corner on the other side. Now I've reached the corresponding position. Find the middle single crochet of the 3 single crochets at the corner, that is this stitch. We keep crocheting until we finish with this stitch. Secure with a chain when completed. Break the yarn. Weave in the ends. After finishing this row of single crochets, another row needs to be worked. Note that the color of the yarn here is different. Take the corresponding color yarn. Here you need to pick the back loop for crocheting. We call the strand closer to us the front loop. The strand further from us is called the back loop. That is, this strand of yarn. Join the yarn at the first stitch. Draw the yarn through. Chain 1 to begin. Start crocheting single crochets. Remember to weave in the ends while working. Pay attention that for this row, you need to pick the back loop only for each stitch. Complete this row as well. End with a single crochet. Chain 1 to secure. Break the yarn. Weave in the ends. That concludes our tutorial for the edging. Now let's move on to the sleeves. Place the garment with the right side facing you. The sleeve on the right is called the right sleeve, and this one will be the left sleeve. Let's start with the right sleeve. The right sleeve is divided into two parts. The first part consists of two fabrics. These are referred to as fabric 1 and fabric 2. Section 2 is crocheted in rounds by picking up stitches from section 1. Let's start with fabric 1. Fabric 1 begins by hooking into the front piece of the garment. You can see the horizontal bars left from the chains here. First, we need to join the yarn. The method for joining the yarn remains the same. Insert the hook under these two strands of yarn. Hook the yarn out. Then make one chain as your beginning chain. Below, work one single crochet into the same stitch. Remember to weave in the ends while crocheting. You'll need to work 11 single crochets here. After completing, you can check if the stitch count is 11. That's how you finish the first row. Trim off the excess tail from the beginning chain. Now move on to the second row. Chain 1 to start. Turn your work. Work one loose slip stitch into the second single crochet. After completing, continue with 8 more single crochets in the corresponding stitches. There's one last stitch remaining. Finish with one slip stitch. The slip stitches here don't need to be tightened. This won't be repeated for the following steps. That concludes the second row. Now start the third row. Begin with one chain. Turn your work over. Skip the braid from the slip stitch. Locate the second single crochet stitch. Start crocheting 4 single crochets evenly. End with 1 slip stitch. Continue to the 4th row. Begin with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Turn the fabric over. Find the second single crochet stitch. Crochet 2 single crochets in the corresponding stitches. Finish with 1 slip stitch. That completes the 4th row. Secure with a chain. Break the yarn. Weave in the ends. Fabric 1 is now completed. Now let's move on to the second fabric. Flip the fabric to the back piece. You will see that 11 single crochet stitches have been skipped here. We will join the yarn at the last single crochet stitch on the far right. The crocheting method for this part is similar to that of fabric 1. Everyone can start by completing the first 2 rows. Now let's work on the 3rd row. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Pay attention that this chain needs to be a little loose, otherwise the fabric will pucker. Turn the fabric over. Locate the 3rd single crochet stitch. Work 1 slip stitch. Then continue with 4 single crochet stitches. And 1 more slip stitch. That concludes the 3rd row. Continue with the 4th row. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Locate the 2nd single crochet stitch. Begin to crochet 2 single crochet stitches correspondingly. End with 1 slip stitch for the last stitch. Then break the yarn. Weave in the ends. This is what fabric 2 looks like when it's completed. It's symmetrical to fabric 1. That completes section 1. Now let's move on to section 2. Section 2 will be crocheted onto section 1. You need to pick up 11 stitches from each side of the fabrics. We'll start by joining the yarn at the insertion point on fabric 1. Start with 1 chain as the beginning chain. Then work single crochets along the edge. The insertion position can be random here. Just make sure you pick up 11 stitches. Keep in mind that the insertion positions for the first and last stitches. That is, the insertion points for the first and last stitches of the first row, on fabric 1 and fabric 2. This way, there won't be any gaps in the crocheted fabric. You can pick up the stitches yourself. If the fabric bends a little while picking up stitches, it's fine. It's a normal occurrence. Now I've finished picking up stitches on fabric 1. Continue with fabric 2. There's no need to crochet in the middle gap. Work 11 stitches using the same method. Pay attention to the entry positions for the beginning and ending stitches. After picking up the stitches, check if the stitch count matches the chart. Finally, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. The first round is now finished. From the second round to the 11th round, there are no new stitches. You can follow the chart for regular crocheting. After completing, break the yarn. Now let's move on to the 12th round. I'll demonstrate the crochet method for the 12th round using a sample. Take the corresponding yarn. Here you need to pick up the back loop to join the yarn. Draw the yarn through. Then start with 1 chain. Continue crocheting single crochets below. Pay attention to weaving in the ends while crocheting. Always pick the back loops for crocheting. Please complete this round on your own. Finally, finish with a slip stitch. Pull tight. Secure with 1 chain. Leave about 20 centimeters of yarn tail before cutting the yarn. Up to this point, the right sleeve is completely finished. After finishing the right sleeve, let's move on to the left sleeve. Please note that you will crochet fabric 2 on the front piece and fabric 1 on the back piece. The crocheting method will be the same moving forward. Everyone please finish crocheting the left sleeve as well. Up to this point, we have covered all the sleeves. Now let's work on the embroidery part. This includes flower embroidery and root embroidery. Each sleeve has 2 flowers and 2 roots. The embroidery method is the same for all. I'll demonstrate the embroidery method for one of the flowers and one root with a sample. You can refer to the finished product for the embroidery position, or create according to your preference. Let's start with the flower section. I'll demonstrate the embroidery method with this sample. The shape of the sample is random. The yarn, color scheme, and embroidery position are not for reference. Everyone can watch the video first. Learn the method before starting to embroider. You need to use 2 strands of yarn for the embroidery. Take out the corresponding yarn and extract 2 strands from it. Thread through the sewing needle. Tie a knot at the tail of the yarn. Then draw through. Insert into the same stitch again. Exit with the desired distance for the petal size. Then pass the needle through the loop. Slightly tighten it. Pull through again. That completes one petal. Continue in the same way to embroider the remaining 5 petals. You can embroider the rest on your own. As you can see, I've already finished the other petals. Finally, weave in the ends. Break the yarn. Then continue to embroider the small line segment at the center of the flower. Here you need to use a single strand of yarn to sew. Similarly, come out from the center. Insert a little distance above. Then bring the thread over to the position of the left petal. Insert again from the center. Follow this method to sew the remaining parts. Finally, weave in the ends and fasten off the yarn. Up to this point, the flower section is complete. After finishing the flower part, we will now sew the root. Here you also need to use a single strand of yarn. We come out from the flower. Then insert into the fabric. Here you need to sew twice. After sewing, continue to embroider the leaf on the side. Exit at the upper left position. The embroidery method is the same. It's all made up of small segments. The difference is that here you need to sew 3 times. The length of the segments can be adjusted freely. Once done, continue to embroider the other side. There are also 3 small segments here. This way, the entire root is embroidered. Finally, weave in the yarn tails, and break the yarn. Up to this point, one flower and its root have been fully explained. Everyone continue to embroider the rest. This completes the full explanation of the embroidery. Lastly, sew everything together. I'll still demonstrate the method with a sample. Take out the previously crocheted arm. Thread the reserved yarn tail of the sleeve onto a darning needle. Place the arm inside the sleeve. The slip stitch position of the arm should face downward. Reserve the length for 4 rounds of single crochets on the outside of the arm. Then start sewing together. Pick up stitches to sew together. This way, one arm is sewn on. Now weave in the yarn tails. Break the yarn. Everyone can sew the other arm using the same method. After the arms are sewn, it's time to sew the body of the garments now. First, secure the sleeve in place. Take the yarn for the main body of the garment. Tie a knot at the tail. Fold the fabric properly. Sew a bit at the cuff position. After fixing it with a few stitches, pass the thread through from the inside of the sleeve to the bottom of the garment. Here, use the whip stitch method to sew the bottom of the garment together. Start sewing from the far right side. When sewing here, you need to go through 3 fabrics at the same time. Check the position as you sew. Everyone continue sewing according to this method. Now I've already sewn up to the far left side. Finally, secure the cuff once more. You can also sew a single stitch here to fix the garment in place. After finishing the sewing, weave in the ends. Up to this point, we've covered everything about the garment section. Now let's make the decoration for the top of the head. Let's take a look at the finished product. The head decoration consists of flowers and colored ropes. After crocheting, sew them onto the head. Let's start by crocheting the flowers. The flower is divided into a flower fabric and flower decorations. The flower fabric is crocheted in rounds using the magic ring method. Below, please watch as I demonstrate the specific crochet method. First, cast on with an adjustable magic ring. That completes the magic ring. Next, work 3 chains. After completing that, find the second chain from the hook. Pick up the top thread from there, and start crocheting slip stitches. Do not tighten the slip stitch here. After completing, continue to pick up a thread above the left chain, and work a slip stitch. Crochet a slip stitch here. The slip stitches in this section do not need to be tightened. This will not be repeated later on. After finishing, continue hooking into the magic ring, and crocheting 1 slip stitch. We consider the position of the initial 3 chains from the start to the current completed slip stitch as one group. A total of 6 such groups are needed for this round. Continue with the second one. First, work 3 chains. Then find the second to last chain. Start to crochet 2 slip stitches correspondingly. Next, hook into the magic ring, and work 1 slip stitch. This completes the second motif. Everyone continues using this method all the way until the last motif is completed. Now I have finished the last motif. Next, close the magic ring. The method for closing the ring is the same. And now it's closed. After securing, fix the last stitch with a chain. Break the yarn. Everyone, weave in the ends. That concludes how to make one flower motif. After completing the flower motif, let's now create the flower decoration. Here, you'll need to use a single strand of yarn. Take out the corresponding yarn. Cut a segment of yarn. Pull out 1 strand from it. Tie a knot at the end of the thread. Exit through one of the petals. Then insert back through the center. This sews a small segment. Continue with the second small segment. Come out through the second petal. Insert back through the center. The second segment is now sewn. Repeat this process to sew the remaining 4 segments. As you can see, I've finished sewing the last one. Now weave in the ends on the wrong side. Cut the yarn. That concludes the flower decoration. Up to this point, a small flower is completed. Everyone can make the rest of the flowers using the same method. Now let's make the colored rope. The rope is made by braiding 5 strands of yarn together. First, take a fabric of yarn, about 1.2 meters long. Keep folding it in half. Until you have 5 strands of yarn. Then cut the yarn. Now start crocheting the chains. When you reach about 20 centimeters, pull the yarn tail through. Then weave in the ends of the yarn tails. Everyone make sure to weave in the other end in the same way. Finally, tie the rope into a bow. That's how you make the colored rope. After completing both the flowers and the rope, it's time to sew them together. Take out the sewing thread. Thread the needle. Start by securing the colored rope. There's no specific requirement for how to secure it here. Just make sure it's secure. After securing the rope, move on to fixing the flower. Here, pick up the yarn from the back side of the flower to sew. That's how you secure one flower. Then continue and secure the other one. The method for securing is the same. Pick up the thread from the backside to sew. Everyone can secure it on your own. After securing, weave in the yarn tails and break the yarn. Up to this point, the top decoration has been fully explained. After completing the top decoration, we will now move on to the bottom decoration. The bottom decoration is attached to the garment. It consists of glass beads, colored ropes, and tassels. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific making method. The method for making the colored rope is the same as for the head decoration. Everyone can make it on your own first. After making it, set it aside for later use. Then take a fabric of sewing thread. Thread it through a thin needle. Pass the thread through the tassel. Then remove the sewing needle. Fold the two ends of the thread in half. Then thread them together through the thin needle. Next, pass a glass bead through. Then take out the colored rope. Exit at the knot position on the colored rope. Then thread another glass bead. Now secure it on the garment. Secure it well at approximately the center of the garment. After securing, weave in the ends and cut the yarn. That concludes the bottom decoration. Finally, take the ribbon and exit through the gap in the sleeve. Adjust the shape properly. To ensure the ribbon is held securely, you can sew several stitches at the gap in the sleeve, at the connection point between the garment and the body. You can also secure a few spots. This prevents the garment from slipping off. There's no specific requirement for the securing method. Everyone can secure it according to their preference. Up to this point, the entire tutorial for this metal frame bag is complete. If you still have any unclear points during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.